Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your vessel of love, and this is Geekscape. We talk movies, video games, comic books, pop culture, all that stuff that we can fit under the hood. We're looking forward to San Diego Comic-Con. That's going to be happening in July. I think it's the second to last weekend in July, and y'all are like, hey, Comic-Con's so far away. We still got some major geek events before that. We've got, what's the one I'm thinking of? Oh, yeah, Morbius. So, yeah, I know Comic-Con's a ways away, but Comic-Con's also the celebration of everything that Geekscape's about. So I like to bring up the fact that we're going to be there. I've applied for our hotel rooms. And you know what? If the variants are doing okay and the whole COVID thing is low, maybe we'll see you there. It'd be fun to have you at the booth, right? I'm thinking about getting some new T-shirts made with new designs. If you have a suggestion for a t-shirt you'd like to see or an old Geekscape design you'd like to see back, maybe there's a Geekscape logo color shirt that you want. Like, hey, can y'all make a Geekscape logo shirt in orange? That would look terrible. But, go ahead and email me, jonathan@geekscape.net, and we'll make sure that the Comic-Con is the best one yet. So we're putting those plans together, and we'll see you this summer, hopefully. All right. This is the podcast where we talk about stuff. We got a pretty packed episode, so I'm going to go ahead and run the theme song. We'll get back here, and I think we're going to be talking a little bit of the Halo series on Paramount Plus. We'll be talking about The Lost City with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock. And then I went to see that insane Michelle Yeoh movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Oh, and did anything happen to the Oscars last night? I didn't watch them, but I definitely caught up with them online, so we'll be talking about that too. It's all coming up on a brand new Geekscape. Hey, what's up, Geekscapists? Welcome to the Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host, and as promised, we're going to be talking movies, video games, comic books, TV, all that stuff that is comic worthy. It's a big week. We got this new Moon Knight show coming from Disney on that Disney Plus. It's coming from Marvel. This is the well, it's hard to describe Moon Knight. People ask me about Moon Knight, and I'll tell you straight up, I hope to be surprised by this Moon Knight series because Moon Knight is not one of my favorite Marvel characters. Right now, my good friend Yuri Lowenthal is going, what? He loves Moon Knight. And I just never really got Mark Spector's entire story. There's some schizophrenia. Some times it really depends on the writer that deals with Moon Knight. But supposedly, we'll see what the series is. I'm excited. I am excited to see it. I'm excited for Moon Knight. But if you were to ask me, Jonathan, what is I want to know about this Moon Knight character. What is the Moon Knight story that is like the definitive Moon Knight story? I don't think I would be able to point you in the right direction. Supposedly Jeff Lemire, who's one of my favorite writers, has a pretty good recent run on Moon Knight. That's probably where I will start. But he is schizophrenic, a character in the telling as he is on the page. This wealthy dude, almost Bruce Wayne-ish, who is possessed by the spirit of an ancient Egyptian god, and it makes him do wacky things, among them like fighting crime. So who knows, maybe this will be the streamlined version of Moon Knight, the definitive version of Moon Knight that we get on Disney Plus, in the same way that I think James Gunn delivered the definitive version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they didn't have a definitive storyline for the most part. That was a pretty fresh team that we saw on the screen. So hopefully that's what we get. Because you can also ask me if there's a definitive run of the Eternals going into that movie, and I would say, there's been many interpretations of the Eternals, and we kind of saw how that goes. So it could go either way here on this Moon Knight, and I'm hoping for the positive, and we'll know in a couple days. So I'm excited about that. All right, let's get the show started, and That means talking to Katie. Katie is the balancing act here at Geekscape. When I start going too far in one direction, Katie brings me back. But I would like you to keep my co-host name out of your motherfucking mouth. This is Katie.
Hey, it's raining in LA today, you guys, and it's
It
very
is.
cold.
It is. Last week we started the show with, or a week, last week before, about we were talking about real estate prices in LA. Why don't we start with weather? Well, just to really piss Matt Kelly off.
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you about the roads and how slow
Mhm.
people are driving and how
Yeah.
insane it all is. I mean,
Geekscape's the
there's nothing
number
else to talk
3
about.
film interview show in Senegal. They really give a damn about what the weather's like in LA. So let's start there, Katie. Good call on that one. All right, that was
Just
Katie,
saying.
everybody.
Oh,
She was.
okay.
I'm kidding. Katie, what are you wearing? For those listening on, or maybe watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or LinkedIn, what is
This
Katie
is
wearing?
This is my Viking hat. It's a beanie, but also it's a Viking hat, and I get all of the compliments. And this is always what I wear when it's raining because it keeps me warm. My future mother-in-law actually got this for me for Christmas, which I thought was kind of the perfect gift and right up my alley. But I have to wear it when it's cold out because it keeps my head warm.
I like it. I do
Yeah,
like
me
it.
too.
And you know what, Matt? That's Shane from the Geekscape Games podcast says, you know what? Katie is the true face of Geekscape. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be mine. Are you out
Oh
of
my
your
gosh,
mind?
you're
No.
gonna put my face on the shirts?
I'm
Uh-oh.
like, here's the problem. I'm so ugly. I'm rooting for COVID to bring back a mask mandate. Like that's where I'm at right
Just
here.
keep
I'm like,
wearing it. That's what I do.
yeah.
I think
I
it looks like I have a jawline. It's great.
I do go out, and when I go indoors, I do wear a mask. And let's be clear. For 43 years, metaphorically, I've been wearing a mask, so I'm very comfortable with it. So here we go. All right, we got some talking to do here,
We
Katie.
do. We do. We have a lot of
And
things.
we got a lot of things on the agenda. Luckily, we have two friends who are here to help us. That's Dustin and Zak from the $2 Late Fee podcast. They're the new podcast on the block here at the Geekscape Network, and they've come in heavy hitting. They just had Don the Dragon Wilson on the show. They've got tons of awesome interviews, especially if you're a big fan of like 80s music, 80s movies. The retro show here at Geekscape is $2 Late Fee, and they're doing a damn good job representing. We love having them on the network. So go subscribe to them. Here's Dustin and Zak right here.
We're live.
Zak, how are you? Yeah, there you go.
Hey, guys.
Let's
Hey,
see what's
hi.
going on with
Hi.
y'all. What's going on?
Check out
Welcome to
those
the network.
VHS tapes you got there.
Vintage VHS.
Yeah, what do you got there? You got Blood Fist. Blood Fist is tight.
Yeah.
So Blood Fist, I've got New York Ninja, which is if you've never seen New York Ninja, this is a green VHS cassette tape.
Ooh, love
The cool thing is, like, if you haven't seen New York Ninja, it's actually a pretty forgiving status because it was a movie that was lost for a long time, over 30 years, and that was just finished. Is that right, Zak? What's the story on New York Ninja?
Last year, it came out via Vinegar Syndrome. Dustin and I have interviewed Cynthia Rothrock, Don the Dragon Wilson, who did voices, and they lost the audio. There was no audio for the movie. So basically,
they shot the movie in when? They shot the movie in like 84,
the movie in
83?
84.
Yeah.
And then Vinegar Syndrome acquired the original reels, and they cut an entirely new movie.
Whoa.
And added all new audio to it.
I love that.
Did they dub the whole thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, awesome. It's phenomenal. In Voyager 3 did the soundtrack to it. They're a synth wave band. We had them on the show as well, and talked extensively about New York Ninja. It's a wild movie. The only way I would describe it is if Troma made a kung fu movie in the 80s, this is what it would be.
But is it that like gruesome? Like the Troma thing, like it's sometimes it's pretty gruesome, but yeah, it's not gruesome. It's just awesome.
The director
John Liu,
director John Liu had, I think, the original director and actor star had intended it to be a serious film. We think, but by the end of it, it's like instant cult movie, up and down. And to be honest with you, Don the Dragon Wilson's voice as John Liu he like makes the movie, in my opinion.
Well, I had wanted to see it. I saw the trailer, and it's one of those things where I was like, is this real, or is this just like a hipster goof? And as you're watching the trailer, you're like, no, this has to be real. This has to be a movie that's been lost, and someone found the footage and either dubbed it intentionally or, like you said, there's no audio, and they're going to do their thing. I'm fascinated by it, and it is cool that they're going full 80s and doing the VHS releases. And things
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
so that company is Lunch Meat. We
Mhm.
don't. I wish they should sponsor us, Dustin. They should be one of our sponsors because I own a bunch of their stuff. But Lunch Meat does like
And you love
retro
lunch.
VHS stuff, and then another company, Video Force, does these cool slip covers, and then Dustin and I made these for our interviews. It's a Cynthia Rothrock VHS kind of slip cover
Awesome.
for our
That's
Y'all
interview
had
with Cynthia Rothrock.
Cynthia. That y'all had her on the show. Y'all have had some awesome. Who are your favorite guests on the show? If somebody's like, "Hey, I want to subscribe to this $2 late fee that I heard about on Geekscape," let me give them a shot. What's that one episode that you're like going to lead them to?
Dustin, what would it be for you?
That is an excellent question, Jonathan. For me, it's more of our more recent stuff, and we've had a lot of we've had composers and we've had actors, but we haven't had a ton of directors up until we had Jeff Canoe, the director of Revenge of the Nerds and Troop Beverly Hills and Gotcha, which is one of our personal favorites. And he came on and just, he was a guy who was like top of Hollywood in the 80s, and he's not top of Hollywood anymore, as you guys can imagine. And he was ready to just like burn those bridges, destroy the world.
Oh,
And
really?
it was
Wild.
fantastic. He was he was just like telling
just
us
tell all.
everything. Yeah, because he didn't have anything to lose, and it was really awesome and unfiltered. And then, of course, to just get all the stories from all sides of how the how the food is made. What's how the mango is
Sausage or food.
sausage, probably sausage, right? It was like suddenly I didn't have words in
I
my
like the
brain
vegan
anymore.
twist on it.
How the
fruit is
veggie,
made.
how the
the
veganese
tofurkey's
is made.
Yeah, sure.
But so that's always really fascinating to get those stories, and then just that kind of fearlessness. So Jeff Canoe is my favorite guest thus far.
What about you, Zach? Do you have a
I was
favorite?
going to say Barry Bostwick, simply for the fact that Dustin and I tried to get Barry on the show when we first started out. The end of every episode has Barry Bostwick's Ace Hunter character from Megaforce yelling out, "The good guys always win," even in the 80s. And getting him on the show was challenging, but he did not disappoint once we had him on. And he was our first, I think the first interview we posted on YouTube, actually, right, Dustin? And it's a fun one. Like, he was honored he appreciated the fact that we didn't just want to talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show. We actually wanted to talk about Megaforce and his entire body of career, and the fact that he's been a potter for over 30 years. He's like, "You guys asked me about my pottery. Thank you. No one ever talks to me about that." That's the thing about our show that makes it a little bit different. It's like, we don't stick to the kind of by the numbers
Typical.
questions. We always dig a little bit deeper. So
I think that was the first one that I listened to, and I was sold. I was like, "This is awesome." They got these guys to be candid, and they would celebrate a career that a lot of people probably maybe skim over, which is insane because people like Don the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock, like, they made up a majority of our childhoods.
they do, and you bring up Don the Dragon Wilson. I think people often overlook him because they think of like Chuck Norris, Van Damme, Seagal. But he was a guy who was really paving the way culturally in many ways, being one of the few Asian American actors on screen dominating his movies. So I think I'm hoping, thanks to Dustin and I and Geekscape, he's going to get more recognition as this year goes on, and Cynthia Rothrock as well. Both pioneers, both total badasses in their own way, so champions.
If I can use that as a bit of a segue, I did go see a movie that had Michelle Yeoh in it this past weekend, and it was amazing. Have y'all seen this thing?
I am dying to watch this movie. I've heard nonstop good things.
This movie's effing bonkers. I'm talking about
Data. There he is.
Yeah, and so this movie, and I'm going to cover Zach up real quick if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This is the Daniels brothers. They're the Daniels. They're not brothers, but these guys are the Daniels. They're pretty insane directors, and this is like the multiverse movie. And Michelle Yeoh is this woman who lives, with her family above a laundromat. It's a failing laundromat, and you open on it, and you just know that you're in like the hands of really good directors, because they put clues in every shot, every piece of dialogue, every moment of this movie is a clue that helps you really start to kind of understand this really dense multiverse concept, and they play it out in a really fun way, in a very clear way. But you open on this woman, and she's doing taxes for a failing business. She's being audited, and things aren't good with her daughter. Things aren't good with her husband, also played by, I realized later, the guy who played Data in Short Round from Indie, 2. And the dialogue's great. It's in both Chinese and English, and it's going back and forth. And you got to be quick with this movie because there's a lot of detail in it. But when the plot starts opening up and you realize that there's some multiverse stuff starting to infringe on her reality, and they need this version of her, this woman that she plays, they need this version of her who has had no success with anything. Her marriage is in trouble, her parenting is in trouble, her business is in trouble, everything's in trouble. She's pretty much a failure at everything. She's the version that can possibly save the entire multiverse because there's a multiversal entity that is starting to threaten everything. And what you do is you can kind of like phase different versions of yourself from alternate realities and channel them. And
via this item.
So let's say like there's a version of Katie that's amazingly good at martial arts. Katie can channel that version, or Katie can be like an incredible mathematician for a moment because she channels the crazy mathematician. Or there's an alternate reality where like Katie's hands are made out of beehives and she can send bees at people, like insane realities that shouldn't even exist. But Katie can channel these, and for the moment Katie has those powers, right? And so channeling those abilities from all these different multiverses are what's going to cause this pretty average person to help save the multiverse. And things happen very quickly in this movie. You really have to stick with this movie because it's very dense and comes at you very quickly. It's also very rewarding and very funny and really well paced. And this actor who, like, I'm watching this actor, I'm like, who is this dude who plays the husband? Because he starts doing martial arts in the movie very quickly, and he's playing a pretty average dude until the martial arts start busting out, and you realize he's the person who's like leading her through this multiversal concept. And I'm like, who is this dude? You find out later, yes, it is the dude who played Short Round in Temple of Doom.
It's amazing.
And he's awesome. And anybody who watches this movie is probably going to come out of it being like, why doesn't he get the fedora in the next Indiana Jones movie? Like, why don't they just give the fedora and the whip to this actor?
Short Round?
He's incredible. He is incredible, and I want him to make the giant comeback because this movie was awesome. And I have a million great things to say about this movie, but definitely go see it. And like, make sure you don't take a pee break because, like I said, it's very dense, but it's very cool, and it comes at you very fast. You're gonna love this movie. Every single person here is gonna love this movie. Everybody listening to this is gonna love this movie.
You didn't take a pee break, or no,
guys?
No.
I actually did take a pee break, and I gave Heidi the job. I gave Heidi the job of like, hey, can you tell me like the big? This is the danger in this movie.
You can't do that.
Can you, listen, you stay out of this. Yeah, okay. I was like, can you recap? I was like, I gotta go to the restroom. I'm sorry. This movie is so insane. I gotta go to the restroom. And I came back, and she tried to recap it, and it.
Well, and you're also in a live theater, and I would have punched you.
Wait, what? What are you talking about? You can't go to the movies in a theater? You can't go to the bathroom you can't leave the bathroom.
But you're talking during the movie.
Explain what did I miss?
No, Katie, it wasn't like we were like, "Hey, what's going on in the movie?" Like, I don't like. How's Mark's hearing? Like, no, I turn to Heidi and I say,
we're talking about the Nazi theaters we go to. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I say, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm so sorry. And then she, I come back and said, so what happened? And she tells me.
And she's talking about it.
Bonkers. Heidi came in. Yeah. Heidi,
come on, knock on my door.
We're talking about how you can't hear them, but we're talking about how you had to recap a few minutes when I stepped out of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and you had to recap it.
That was very loud.
And it was loud in the apartment. Yes. What I did in the apartment was very loud, but in the theater, not so loud, and we had fun. That was good.
Unless someone has their phone out, then he gets loud.
The person in front of me did get their phone out.
Phone away.
And I say, put the phone away or I break it.
No,
that's my go-to.
You don't say where I break it.
Sometimes I say I break it, Heidi. And then I kick a little bit of their other.
Call the police. The phone police.
That reminds me of...
Put your phone away very sternly, and then I kick a little bit of their seat.
I saw Predator in the theater on my 11th birthday. Came out in 87, I think. and this couple in front of me, same thing happened.
Their
The
cell
husband went-
phones that
their
weren't
cell
Phones
phones
back then.
No, he came back, and the wife started recapping the whole movie to him. What he
No.
missed.
How long was he in the bathroom?
I guess it was long enough to see
You gotta go.
Dylan like cover himself in mud, and she's like, and then he covers himself in mud, and I'm like,
To cool him down.
full loud voice. I'm like, what is going on right now? So anyway,
So-
I feel your pain.
No, well, so I'm racing to the bathroom. I'm racing back, and honestly, I come into the theater and there's insanity on the screen, and I think to myself, I think I know what's happening. Like there's an alternate dimension or reality, and it's playing into this, and it was kind of hinted at earlier in the movie, and now they're actually showing it, and this is hilarious. And I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna take the lump of like missing 5 minutes that were really fucking hilarious, and I want to rewatch the movie because again, like it's pretty dense in details.
Can we talk about
It's
Michelle
fun.
Yeoh? Just the fact that she is,
Brilliant.
people may not know the fact
She's
that
98
Michelle,
years old. She looks fantastic.
Whoa,
first
didn't
of
know
all.
that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
she was
Yeah.
making kung fu martial art movies back in the 80s with Cynthia Rothrock,
Like,
and
right.
she's a badass. Like she can
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
She was amazing, and I honestly, when I was looking to see who this co-star was with her, I was like, was she somebody who's worked with Michelle Yeoh from the 80s? Because I remember all those films, and they had some
Yeah.
pretty incredible martial artists. And then when I found out it was my man Short Round, oh man, all the respect for Data on that, because he has been doing martial arts and stunts for the last 30 years, and you see him on like the crew list of a lot of these films when you look
Yep.
at the IMDb. I'm really happy that he's back in front of a camera, because you think that he became a stunt man. It's so cool. He went to the background. This dude needs some gigs.
Yeah.
He
And
was
that is
great.
so wonderful too about like that kind of thing where like you think that actors have just gone and just like gone by the wayside or like burnt their bridges or whatnot, but then they come back. They've been working for forever, and like that's what those overnight successes always are. It's they've
Yep.
been working through all this stuff or helping out. I find that fascinating, and I hope he does get a big resurgence.
This
out of
dude
all this.
killed it.
Same.
That's kind of like one of the aspects of our show that we love talking about is like some of these actors you might have forgotten about, like Matt Adler from North Shore and Whitewater
I
Summer. and
love Matt
Teen.
Adler.
And then you realize, well, that guy kind of transitioned to behind the scenes and does a lot of ADR, and he's happy with that. But people like want to see him back on screen. All these
Yeah.
North Shore fanatics. I want to see North Shore Part 2, and then he's like, "That's not going to happen, guys." I'm not.
And I think John Stockwell is somebody who did that,
Ooh,
right?
Yes,
Like he
Another great
started out. He's like in Carrie, and he starts out in these movies in the 80s.
Christine.
And
Yeah,
Christine, sorry,
Mhm.
yeah, it was Christine, and then he, becomes a director, and we don't hear. We're like, what happened to that dude from Christine? But he
I
became a
do-
director, and he's a really he was a prolific director there for a long stretch.
I do want to find someone who hasn't seen Christine and then accidentally show them Carrie instead. Like I feel like that's
Yeah,
I
they're
wanna
best friends. Christine and Carrie, they're good friends. They shared lockers.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do that too, but I want to show him Cars instead. So
amazing.
no, but
Show
no,
them
but
the second
actually, a
Cars.
kid who wants to see Cars, and you show him Christine instead.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I want to see Clifford. Great, here's Cujo.
Why not? It's probably
Perfect. All about dogs.
Yeah, as if Clifford's any less destructive than Cujo. Clifford is a fucking hazard. I mean, you're gonna need
a little bit more
something.
whimsical
He's
than
big. He's
some
red.
blood.
It's the
How
worst
is he not?
combo.
He's destroying the entire city. Like he
I
is.
did.
We've talked about this on the
Yeah.
show.
He's
an
racist.
incredible hazard.
Also,
Wait,
I mean,
what? Oh,
Well, he's
Clifford?
communist.
did he come
Oh,
on the
yeah, he's-
podcast and just
he's a
burn
Red.
it?
He's big.
Yeah.
He's big and red. He's a commie.
And he takes massive poops.
there's nothing good about Clifford. Really, let's just say it for now.
Oh,
I wanna
good
see
to
the
know.
Clifford
I love that
movie.
you have a hard stance
Yeah.
on Clifford.
I want to see the Clifford movie where they're following Clifford with like a giant piece of machinery just to pick his ass, pick up his crap. And it's like,
they
here we
shoot it like
go.
Cloverfield.
Oh, good point, yeah.
They don't
Mhm.
quite see him.
It would be. We're like talking about. Well, we are on the topic of multiverses, so here you go. You take
Yeah.
Maximum Overdrive with that Green Goblin truck,
Mhm.
pushing the poops down the road, and Christine's leading the way. And
What were we? Andy Rattinger, my good friend, when we had this conversation about Clifford being a kaiju on the show, he made a Photoshop. He made a Photoshop of Clifford versus
Oh, really?
Godzilla out of the Kong versus Godzilla graphic. It was pretty
I
awesome.
see it.
that's
Like,
awesome.
there we go.
See it.
So speaking of things that maybe didn't have a place in pop culture for 15 years, but have made a comeback. Maybe it hasn't. Paramount Plus put out their Halo series that should have come out 15 years ago. The like, how was this not a freaking movie in 2005?
I'm not
Right?
sure. Back when it
2001?
was a little bit more popular. I mean, it still holds the popularity among the diehard fans and everybody who just loves gaming in general. But what'd you think of the actual show itself, Lyndon?
Okay, so
Did you just have
Okay,
a
so-
seizure?
so-
Full stop. Just
It's like,
let me just grind
Okay.
this to a halt. Great
I played-
question,
listen.
Katie. Let's not answer.
I played through the first 3 of the Halos, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't play through it for the freaking story. I don't think anybody plays through Halo for the freaking story, right?
I mean,
Like,
I
No,
tried
but-
to.
well, then you've got these fans who are like, "Oh, but I read the book and the Halo lore and all this
Okay.
stuff," and it's fine. I guarantee that's not why you play the freaking game. And I think we would have been a-okay with a pew 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 Spartans versus like elites and all that stuff, like show where it's basically a pew 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 action show with a very high concept. The deal here, though, and I mean, obviously, every director that we've heard wanted to take a swipe at Halo, from Peter Jackson to who's the guy from South Africa who did District 9.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
All these incredible directors are
yeah.
they're all putting their imprint on Halo, and we're not getting their versions. We finally get the Halo on the Paramount Plus, and it's a 1 hour series. It's a 1 hour episode. It's a 1 hour show. And meanwhile, the one it's going to be compared to, and it should be compared to it, is The Mandalorian, which is about a half hour, 40-minute show, which is also very high concept, but it's also very thin on the dialogue, and it's very much like a simple Western story for the beginning. It's starting to branch out into more Star Wars lore, and that stuff might be the downfall of the Mandalorian when it gets too dense into the Star Wars world, world expansion.
Yeah.
But with this Halo show, and Frank Bowen, who I worked with in video games, is a really knowledgeable gamer. He says Navy SEALs on CBS did that. Just wrap it in Halo gear. Just make it a mission-based show. Make it an objective-based show. Keep it short. Keep it to 30, 40 minutes an episode. Because every time the Spartans are blowing up crap in Master Chief's on screen, blowing up stuff, the show works. Whenever you start getting into the government space politics stuff, which I don't remember from the games being that big, when you start having the human stuff in there, it's a little bit of a snooze fest. It's not fun. And it's an impressive show. Visually, all the aliens look amazing. The alien homeworld stuff looks amazing. I don't mind the expansion there because it feels new. I don't mind like the action stuff. It looks incredible. It's a really impressive technical show, but the writing about the human stuff, like I don't really want it in my Halo.
Are you just too politicked out?
No, I'm all for seeing what the fuck happens with Clarence Thomas and all this stuff. Like, I'm down with politics, man. I'm down with like everything.
Clarence
politics.
Thomas in Halo, and you got.
I'm down with
Ooh,
this. Yeah,
there's an episode.
Let's be like, run. But what I don't like is that we have an action sequence that seems to be progressing the character we care about, and we cut from it to characters we don't care about and have no investment in, and they're suddenly having a little bit of human intrigue that we aren't invested in at all. We are invested in the high stakes. Can I get this over there in time?
We're doing fetch missions in terms of just a show.
I mean, let's face it. That's all Mandalorian's been, is like when it was good, it's like fetch missions.
I know.
And that's not really all we need with the Halos. And it's turning into like, it's trying to do more than it needs to. And it's like they're working hard to be dull.
And Dustin and Zach, did you guys play the games at all, or do you continue to?
Yes,
indeed. Dustin. Yes. Do you still play?
Yes, indeed.
Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, as a game, right? There's probably not many multiplayer experiences that started out, 20 some years ago. Xbox really kind of set the stage, and Halo set the stage for that. Other than maybe
Absolutely.
like 007, but
GoldenEye.
really like those LAN
it.
parties that I used to have, and just like connecting the machines, and like I was like, this is amazing. And recently got back into Halo Infinite. Equally as amazing and fun. I'm not precious with any of these characters, don't really care. Although I was thrown in the show because it's like all of a sudden, you got these rebel camps saying like, like they're afraid of the Spartans and they're afraid of the
You
Marines.
start
You're
out and Spartans aren't popular.
this is weird. Like, and I understand that we're kind of separate from the lore a bit before the Covenant has kind of taken over and all that other stuff. But it is a very strange, it is a very strange move story-wise, because you're very thrown. Like, the Spartans are always the good guys. Why are they hated here? Oh, because they're like on assassination missions for various government entities. Yeah.
The political intrigue stuff, like, who cares?
Who cares?
Just go kablooey and like just go over here and have to do some kablooey, and then take this over there and do some kablamo, and that's like kind of what I'm in for. Fly this over there and kablizza blizza, and like that's my Halo. You know what I mean? Like I want.
You're talking in like comic book bubbles.
That's all I want. That's all I want. I don't. But
Blam,
like,
zaps, boom. Yeah.
they immediately give Master Chief like a human to take care of, right? And I'm like, I don't know about this.
Right.
And
I
then
think it does kind of come back to the fact that like a lot of people, and especially a lot of the fan base of the players, didn't really play the game for the storyline, and so there
Hell
wasn't
no.
much interest in the storyline to begin with. When you're setting this in a medium that is specifically about the visuals and the storyline,
Well,
yeah, they played it for the kablamo and the kabliz blizz.
Mhm.
And the Kawaba Waba, and like Frank Bowen
Yeah.
says, another Disney Plus show that's pretty good is Star Wars Bad Batch, the mother. Like that Star Wars
Yeah.
Bad Batch stuff where you got this cool squad of badasses and they got to do a mission every episode. There's a overarching storyline. Do that, but the density of the human politic garbage. No, sorry guys, like you're talented writers. I just don't understand the edict to have put that much stuff into a show. It did not. There's a great 30-minute show in here. You
It's
just
a
gotta
lot,
rip
yeah.
all that other stuff out of here.
Interesting.
Wouldn't you say, Dustin? Dustin, you
It's a
watched
lot.
this thing, right?
I did watch this thing, and I thought, and when I put it in and I was like, oh, this is like legitimately 57 minutes. I was like, oh God. Like I
Not
really was, because it
42.
wasn't even like a clean 44, 42. It was like 57. And I was like, oh no. And I felt a little bit like you, Jonathan, with the movie, where I'm like, oh, if I leave to go to the bathroom, I'm going to be confused. And I don't want that in a show. I want quick. I think 30 minutes is 22 minutes is the ideal show for me. As Zach knows very well, right? As Zach knows very well, 83 minutes is the ideal length of a movie. I'm not invested so much in Master Chief at this particular moment. I don't know that I will keep going. Maybe I'll give it another shot. But like, there's too much content out there.
Is better.
But I mean, that's life. That's our entire existence now. Wait, give it till episode 2. Give it till episode 3.
Give it episode 2. It's like no, like I kind of I got the feeling from the opening moments of this that it was going to be a little flat. And it was going to be a little hollow. Hollow. It was going to be hollow. And I'll say this about like leaving an experience and coming back and thinking that you're lost here. If I came back, I didn't miss anything because it was a lot of filler. The Daniels are really talented writers, because when I did go to the bathroom during Everything Everywhere All at Once and I came back, they were so good at just keeping things rolling.
The bathroom test.
Dude, the bathroom test. That thing passed the bathroom test because it was still entertaining and it still kept me rocking. I did not miss it.
Interesting conversation that's been going on lately is because we've had all these movies that are going so long that are they're over 90 minutes. They're going over 2 hours. How long was Batman? Almost 3. Like, I mean, people are talking about bringing back the intermission in terms of like movies, and which I think is interesting.
Bring back the editor, motherfuckers.
Just make shorter movies.
Well, when you cut it out of the Oscars, when you cut that category out, those editors.
What's in it for me? I'm not going to get any gold. Why would I edit this thing out?
Respect to all editors because they do an amazing job. But that's the thing, especially when it comes to TV too. We don't have those commercial breaks anymore because we have streaming services. So they have like the full ability to do those full solid hour shows. Yeah. Do we need them though? That's the question.
Don't need the storyline. We did not need it. Like 3 of these storylines on the Halos, we did not need.
Agreed.
Dustin, I was in pain on some of this stuff. I was like, I'll take a nap.
Agreed.
Oh,
something went bliz. I'm out. I'm back. I'm
comfortable with the kablizz.
Make it more entertaining.
It kablizzed all over that alien. I like it. It's pretty cool.
I've got no vested interest in this show. I never played the game. I think Mortal Kombat movies ruined it for me. Where I'm like, if
Oh.
any movie that's based on a game moving forward is probably not going to be that great, because I didn't play that game to know why these characters had the motivations for what they did.
Sure.
The trailer looked cool. I used my 7-year-old son as a measuring stick for a lot of this stuff. I'm like, what did you think?
It's a
He's
good
like,
one.
this looks cool. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. I show him the trailer for that Channing Tatum movie with Sandra Bullock, and he's like, this
Varsity.
looks kind of not good. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know.
Oh.
And so
Mm.
I said it's different.
So if he
audience.
likes it, it's gonna stink. But if he doesn't like it, it's probably gonna be good.
Right,
Is what you're
exactly,
telling me.
That's the measurement.
pretty much. You know, but his perspective was
Because
like,
Halo
look
was
at the-
not good, but the Sandra Bullock movie was, and we'll get to that. Go ahead.
yeah, I don't think he can. I don't think
Yeah.
it doesn't sound appealing at all. I
It's like, is
want
there
to watch
kiss
it.
kiss in this? Is there kissy kiss kiss?
Kiss, kiss, smooch, smooch.
I don't like
kid
kissy
blizz
kiss
blue.
kiss.
So
Could you imagine he
quotes,
watches Halo and they start kissing each other? He's like, I don't like. I don't.
Just their helmets bumping up against each other.
It's probably gonna be some.
He calls it
kissing in Halo, too.
diarrhea. He calls it diarrhea because if
When
you
people
go back
kiss?
to the Last Starfighter, if you're watching the Last Starfighter,
Yes.
when Lance, I forget his last name, but Catherine Mary Stewart and
Right.
and Lance
What is his
Guest,
last
I
name?
think.
Yeah, Lance
they
Guest. Yep.
kiss, and
Mhm.
and the little brother goes diarrhea.
Diarrhea.
So that
Yes.
stayed with Bodhi ever since. So everything's diarrhea.
What the shit? That's my favorite little brother quote from Last Starfighter. Is when he sees the clone of his brother and goes, "What the shit?"
Terrifying.
You know what I'm
If you
talking
saw
about,
your-
right, Dustin?
Iconic.
Yeah.
He sees this like
That's so funny.
spongy, like fucking what was it's like a algae or something version of his
Yeah.
brother. He's got this
With
sea
the
anemone
veins and
head,
everything.
the veins and everything, and he goes, and he's like turning into a clone of his brother in his bed. He goes, "What the shit?" Man, we used to say that a ton as kids.
So
Y'all know
Our
what I'm talking
parents
about.
loved it.
And he had a stack
Yeah.
of Playboys under his bed too. The little brother.
That's true. That's true.
I still
But yet
remember
he doesn't like people kissing.
Mary Catherine Stevens was
Catherine Mary Stewart.
Mary Stewart. She was like one of my big crushes there in the 80s. I had lots of them. I was a lonely kid.
Yeah, Weekend at
And-
Bernie's.
And she was at like a Monster Mania or one of these monster things here in LA. And I was like, oh my God, there she is signing autographs. And my brother's like, you should go up and just talk to her. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. So he tweets at her. My brother is scared to come up and talk to you. We're standing like 2 hours, you know, he like tweets at her while we're standing there. And she tweets back
Hilarious.
like, I see him, like he should come over and talk to me. Don't be such
Aw.
a, you know, and I was like,
Don't be such a pussy.
hello, how are you?
And how old were you at the time?
I was mid-30s.
What the shit?
Mhm.
Well, she's
Mhm.
Canadian too,
What
so
the
she's super
shit?
nice.
Yeah, she was super nice. But she tweeted, "Don't be such a cowardly American." I don't know. She just tweeted at me, was like, "Go over and talk to me."
Is it
Come on,
is
eh?
it telling though that she like had time to tweet while she was sitting there? Like what?
No, brother,
she was
no,
not,
it kind of was, yeah.
right? Like no, she's not. There aren't that many people talking to her at all.
I
If
turned to
she's
my brother. I'm
take
like,
out her phone and
nobody's
just tweet with you.
Nobody's at the table. I should go and talk to her. And then I
Right.
turned it to like,
I see. I'll tweet her.
We had a guest on our
Tweet her.
show, Dean Cameron. Dean Cameron played
course.
Chainsaw in summer school, right?
Cool.
And he calls those conventions. This is him saying this has been conventions, and
Ugh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
But then-
there's
but then-
definitely a reality to that. There's a definite
Yeah.
reality that hits
but then the
home.
flip
Yeah.
side, like John Philbin, who played Turtle in North Shore, he's like, look,
Yeah.
I love these things. I get to meet the fans, and people come up to me, and I make a ton of money, you know.
There you go.
And so
Mhm.
he's happy about that. And
Cash.
Catherine Mary Stewart, she goes in waves. I think Night of the Comet has actually kind of
That's
gotten a
my favorite.
resurgence of the past few years, and I don't know. She seems to be gaining more popularity. She's on a lot of Hallmark and Lifetime movies,
Mhm.
and I think Dustin
Nice.
likes that.
That was my favorite. Is another comment. And, you know, senior year in college, we shot a Night of the Comet type movie called Spores, with the alien spores
cool.
infecting us. And like, well, we were nerds in the radio station, so we didn't get infected. My buddy Kevin and I, and then we look up and there's zombies everywhere. We ran around. I mean, we shot a 75-minute
Yeah.
movie senior year in college,
Justin would have.
and that
approved
was
that.
it. And now, you know, I was going to compare it to Pontypool, that recent Canadian movie.
Oh, yeah,
where
that
the
was
good. It's a great zombie film. It's
Yeah.
a great horror film, and it's in a radio station, and it's
Just him, pretty
like,
much.
yeah, it's like yeah, it is. It's what's the Orson Welles one I'm talking about? A War of the Worlds. It's like a War of the Worlds type
Mm.
movie.
Yeah.
Pontypool is awesome. I
Pontypool's
thought
great.
that's a great
yeah.
one.
Zach, do you own that? Is it on the shelf next to you? Can you pull
I
it out?
don't, but I've seen it several times.
Okay.
So,
Oh darn.
Yeah, and it reminded me of Night of the Comet and the whole radio, hiding out in the radio station type thing, and there's zombie invasion. We did mention The Lost City. This is the Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum movie that came out this past weekend. It also has Daniel Radcliffe. It's amazing.
Yep.
In an
Also
amazing
has
role.
Brad Pitt.
Bradley Pitt.
Bradley
Never heard of him.
Pitt, and he is hysterical in this movie.
He looks awesome.
Everybody in this movie is hysterical, Katie. I
It's
love
very
this movie.
funny. Here's the thing that would like really hit home for me is like I have been saying for forever that we just need another Sandra Bullock movie like from the early 2000s, late 90s or something like that, just a pure action comedy film, like a Miss Congeniality, a Speed, or anything like that. And this delivers. It's definitely like there's a point where it's Bradley Cooper, God,
Channing Tatum.
Brad Pitt, Channing Tatum, and Sandra Bullock all in one shot. And I just turned to Mark and I was like, we finally got it. We finally got that movie. Like it's not even like 10 minutes into the movie or something. It's just like it's here.
She's awesome. And
Yeah.
Heidi was watching Amy Poehler's Lucille Ball documentary, the Lucy and Desi documentary, and Amy Poehler did this one, and it was really good. And you just start to appreciate how amazing Lucille Ball was as a performer. And Buster Keaton was like one of her mentors. And you see it in Lucille Ball's performances. I love Buster Keaton, and Lucille Ball is on another level. And then you see this movie, and obviously you're a fan of Sandra Bullock, like she does physical comedy, and you can pretty much see what the influence Lucille Ball had on Sandra Bullock, because the physical comedy is amazing in this movie. She's great, and this is like such a great comeback. I mean, not comeback because she's always been great. It's not like she had a bomb
she didn't really
at any
go
point.
Anywhere, but it's kind of like we were talking about with
she went to take care of her kids because people she was sick of Hollywood. Like she went to live her life. Somebody broke into her freaking house. Y'all know. I mean, she had a bad relationship. Somebody broke into her freaking house where she lives with her kids, and she'd had enough of this garbage. And this is a great way to like. This movie's awesome. It's a classic Sandra Bullock movie. And Channing Tatum's hilarious.
Movies I hope we get more of. Yeah, Channing Tatum's always hilarious. I'm glad that he's really exercising his funny bone because he's a pretty funny dude.
He's amazing. Obviously, like you said, Brad Pitt's great. I loved all the supporting cast. Daniel Radcliffe is chewing up everything he's got. The script is the part where I was like, okay, if this movie's gonna stink. Like you're watching the trailer and you're like, I really hope this is the movie promised in the trailer. And as I'm sitting down watching it, I kept waiting for like the script to fail. Does that make sense with some of these comedies?
Yeah. Well, it felt like it might be like an Amy Schumer type of movie. Like it might go that way. I forget what's the movie with.
You take my Amy Schumer out of your goddamn mouth.
I love Amy Schumer. I think she's hilarious.
I was about to say. I was trying to do a Will Smith there.
But no, there was the movie where she gets lost with her mom in like South America or something like that. And like that movie, it was like, oh yeah, almost hit it. And I felt like this might be that movie. Totally not. I thought it like knocked it out of the park hilarity wise.
Whether they're ad libs, improvs, whether it was actually the stuff that was scripted, every piece of dialogue is good and every moment's good. And the action directing is actually pretty well done. It was fun in a really
it way more
classic
than Uncharted.
Hollywood way. As they're exploring at the end of the movie, and they're like, okay, this storyline on the exploration and the adventures coming together. I was like, this shit's fucking taking Uncharted's lunch. Like this is. This is a much better adventure movie than Uncharted.
Which is funny because like just the logic, the pure like movie logic of it all made way more sense than Uncharted. And like to be fair, I thought again Uncharted was a fun popcorn movie. No,
it wasn't.
It was a fun popcorn.
There was a fight in a Papa John's. Like it was horrible. I mean. It was a bunch of. It was bad.
This. And also, it's Sandra Bullock.
I try not to hate on movies, but Uncharted was one of those movies where it's like, let's have an ancient keyhole that is part of this treasure in a Papa John's.
That was in the video game, right? Straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah,
except it was the owner.
And they didn't even change Papa John's to something else.
I actually think
just like click here to order your pizza now.
Yeah. Well, I think in the movie when they went through the Divine Comedy to find the source of the treasure, they were like, "Oh, look, the ancient, this is old. This is from the monks wrote about the Papa John's." No, there's nothing there. This was it was just hokey, and this is fun. And if they were going to do something like that, they would have had a reason for it because these were really creative writers.
I'll tell you what sold this for me when I saw the trailer.
Diarrhea.
Diarrhea.
It's
lot of
in
that-
everywhere.
Right. That so the I love one of my favorite subgenres is romantic action comedies. So Romancing the Stone is one of my all-time favorite movies. So check right there.
The
Then there's
African
like
Queen.
kind of variations on that theme of movies in the 80s, like High Road to China with Tom Selleck, Jake Speed, Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold. You know,
That
like
one
these-
is. Does that one hold up? We watched it as
it's
kids.
cheesy, but you know
Yeah.
what? Like Dustin and I are always saying nostalgia is a hell of a drug, right? Because
But
you look
these are
back
the
and you're like,
ones
oh,
that-
that movie was great, and then you
Yes.
watch it,
These
and
are
you're
the
like,
ones
that movie was-
Indiana Jones brought back. And there were
Yes.
tons of them in the 80s. These are the ones Indiana Jones brought back. Totally.
Yes. And I mean, give me Romancing the Stone any day out of all those movies. And I'm like, I'm watching this and I'm going, this has enough elements there. And then you throw I love Brad Pitt when he's playing a side character, not when he's the lead actor, but when like in True Romance or California, you know, like
Floyd.
when he, something wacky.
Yeah.
No,
It's incredible. No, I was stunned because I didn't watch too many trailers going into this. It's one of my favorite things to do, to not watch trailers and just go in blind to a movie.
call.
And
Yeah.
I was like, Brad Pitt's in this? What the hell? And he plays such a Brad Pitt character, but like so effortlessly. It's just like, oh, I'm in good
awesome.
hands here. It's hilarious. Yeah.
is Robert Zemeckis? Did he do *Romancing the Stone*? Was that
He
one
did.
of his
It was
early
his first
movies?
movie.
It's pretty
Yep.
incredible.
Oh,
Hey, could you imagine
yeah.
coming out of the freaking gate
course.
with *Romancing the Stone*?
It's that holds up, by the way.
Yes, I watched it recently.
Terrific
It's
soundtrack
insane.
too.
Like you
But-
imagine going *Romancing the Stone*, *Back to the Future*, in the trilogy, in *Roger Rabbit*,
Yeah.
in there. Like
Yeah.
holy crap! And obviously, like 10 years after all that, plus like *What Lies Beneath* is incredible, and obviously
Underrated.
*Castaway*. But
Yep.
*What Lies Beneath* is a phenomenal horror movie.
It really
I
is
love
good.
that movie.
Yep.
And again, incredible script. And I think, no offense to Ruben Fleischer, but with the Uncharted, but I think every element worked on this one, and it started with that
Cool.
script. The script was really, really, really smart. And then you have two performers who, I think, like the performers, the ad-libbing in this. Did it feel like ad-libbing to you, Katie? Some of these
A bit.
improv
It felt very off the top of the head, but I don't know if that's just the commitment to. I mean, Sandra always seemed to have that sort of style in her acting, and Channing does as well. And I never would have thought a Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock movie would work. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like,
You
that
didn't?
seems- No, I didn't.
because the age disparity. Because
No, not even the
she's
age
hot-
disparity,
She's
just
hot to trot.
Well, they're both hot to trot, but like
I know.
it's like I guess I hold Sandra Bullock in like such high revere, and Channing Tatum, I'm like, oh yeah, he's just like
No.
a fun, funny guy.
Don't you do that
I-
to my Channing?
I-
He's 22 Jump Street, 21 Jump Street.
21
Jump
Jump
Street's
Street
great.
is the
How
finest
dare you-
comedic
Fantastic.
You,
amazing.
It's a
you
great, but you don't like
keep my
those
Channing
aren't the-
Tatum out of your motherfucking mouth.
in the comedy fandom. Like I never would have put those two in the same movie. But now that I see them in the same movie, like it blew my mind and I loved it. It worked. It worked really well. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you why I wouldn't have put them together in the first place, but like I can tell you that I want them doing more movies together.
Right.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Sandra Bullock does not do it for me necessarily, and hasn't
Oh.
for many years. I think Miss Congeniality was like the last movie I saw her in, where I'm like, that was good. She's
Okay.
done in my
Love
opinion,
Potion
a
number
lot of-
9.
What's that?
No, but what's the one?
Potion number 9.
The Melissa McCarthy movie. I think you're right on that one, Zach.
That
There's
movie
a couple
was
where it was
The
like
Heat.
not good.
The Heat.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Heat.
It
Yeah.
got a
and-
little bit rough. There
and-
were a couple of rough times, but
yeah. But I will
But
who
I
say
thought the
wrote that,
one
who
where- I
wrote
thought
that
the-
movie?
I thought the one where she had to be blind was funny, where she was like the Bird Box.
Oh.
That was hilarious. You didn't think that was funny? You didn't think the Bird Box comedy was funny?
Oh,
yeah, that
you know
was-
the Oscar grab?
Bird Box was
Found
funny.
Hilarious.
well, she did one recently for Netflix where she was an ex-con, like a hard-end criminal.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It
The
had
unfunny.
potential. It had
To be
potential.
funny.
Yeah, not knee slapper.
Did
more
you
like
watch-
an
you
elbow
watched it?
slapper. Oh, I watched it.
You
Really?
watched
How do you have
Zach?
time? That's weird to me.
Between all the
That's
stuff I
crazy.
have to do, because at the end of the night, my wife typically doesn't want to watch the movies that we
You wanna
cover
watch.
on
You
$2
circled that
late
one?
fee. And she's like, "Oh, it's Sandra Bullock." Well, there's a
Oh.
backstory. I in a roundabout way kind of know her. So that's
Hey,
save that for an off-air conversation.
copy
Father
and-
of some of her kids, but I
you
don't
tell
know where
her-
they
Oh,
were.
interesting.
Tell her
Huh.
Jonathan and Geekscape is a big fan.
Well, I will tell you that she's a very nice person outside of
We
genuinely
had a
good person.
We had a scavenger hunt in high school when she had
To
moved
find
first,
Sandra Bullock.
No,
Uh,
when she
had to
had
bring her
first moved to she'd first moved to Austin. It was hip, and we had a scavenger hunt, and it
Like
was
Midnight Madness.
It was like get a picture,
Midnight
or it was
Run.
like get an autograph from a celebrity, get a picture with a celebrity, and
Really?
yes,
That's such a big ask.
well, it was Austin, and like all these hip people were starting to move to Austin by the late '90s, and it was like, okay, get a picture of it. By that time, like Matthew McConaughey was like playing the bongos naked and doing all that. his thing.
Starbucks or whatever. Yeah.
So
John Mellencamp.
so you could probably, with a little bit of effort, find a celebrity in Austin on any given night, because there were places to hang out. But we're high school kids, so we're like, we can't go down 6th Street and find them in any of the clubs. But one of our friends knew where supposedly Sandra Bullock lived in the neighborhood. So we drive over to this neighborhood, nice neighborhood, and it's like, we think that's her house. We go to knock on it. Forrest Whitaker and her both answer the door.
What?
Double points. Yeah, they were hanging out. Yeah, so and she was super cool, and she's like, yeah, I'll scavenger hunt. Cool. What's it all about? And so that
That's
was
awesome.
What
the only time I met Sandra
Such a
Bullock,
random.
and
It's
she
a
was super
weird
cool.
dream.
That is-
Yeah,
it's a
it was
little
super
fever dreamy.
cool. Yeah, it was fun.
Dream about a scavenger hunt.
So she was
Forrest
nice enough
Whitaker.
to us as high school kids, and yeah, thank you. For
Yeah.
letting us
Can't
do
wait
this.
Forrest
to
Whitaker look at you and
read
say,
that
"What are you
tag
doing?"
style movie. Yeah. Right.
Well, speaking of tag, did y'all watch the Oscars last night? Did you?
I did. I
what
feel
went
like I was
down
the only
with
one watching
Oscars?
live, and like I
I-
kept being like,
You were.
Has
Them.
any? Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
The only
I was
one.
like, yeah, right. I was like,
Well,
has
of our
anyone
group
else
of friends,
watching
Katie,
this?
you were. I
Yeah.
have not watched the Oscars in about 20 years. I don't find them
Same.
fun to watch.
lot of people
I
haven't,
think
yeah.
they're. I think they're
Ugh.
pretty disconnected with a lot, and that does not
They
make for
are,
a
and
very
that's kind of-
entertaining show.
No, but it does make for great Twitter comedy.
That
Yes.
being said,
Agreed,
when things
Katie.
do
Agreed.
connect,
Connect.
Good
Very
stuff.
they
When
connect
things
quite
do
a
connect.
bit. So we're watching what am I watching last night? We're watching Picard, which is
Uh-huh.
not bad. We're watching the Picard season
Okay.
2. And then we watched
Better than Halo, by the way?
it is
Better than that
Halo.
Sandra Bullock prison movie.
Yeah. Okay.
I have not watched the Sandra Bullock prison movie. Sandy, I'm
Better-
still holding out hope. I enjoy it.
Better
It's
than
not better than
Picard season
Blindside.
1?
I think it's better than Picard season. No, Picard. It's about
No.
on par with Picard season 1. So
Okay.
then we start watching the movie, the show, my favorite show, which is Winning Time on HBO Max about the
Oh,
Lakers.
Lakers.
I love that
Oh.
show. That show is awesome and it's fun, and it makes me super sad that Will Ferrell and Adam McKay aren't
Yeah.
friends anymore
Because
Oh
of
no,
that.
So-
really?
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah.
because
Because
of
of
the
that.
show, because he
Because of the
cast
show.
John
Because
C.
he-
Riley
Instead of Will.
and Adam. Will wanted it. They
Yeah,
cost him
and
their
they-
friendship.
technically,
talked
not really
since.
amicably, but they haven't really talked since. Yeah.
Oh no.
Adam McKay wanted to cast John C. Riley as Jerry Buss, and Will Ferrell wanted it, and Adam McKay was like, he offered the part to John C. Riley without telling
He
Will,
didn't
which
tell
is,
him.
And John
That's messed
called
up.
John
It's
called
weird.
up Will and was
That's
like,
weird.
"Hey, this is happening."
hey, I'm your best
Yeah.
friend. Your business partner just offered me the role.
That's
Yeah.
real
That's
weird.
messed up.
Adam Adam will admit, I think he's admitted publicly that he handled it
Very.
wrong, and it's like, damn.
And Will doesn't really talk about it. He's just
The
like,
show is
doing great
solid. So we're
Doing
watching
great
it.
things.
So we're watching the show, and it ends, and I check my phone, and Katie goes, "What just happened?" And I'm thinking, "What did Katie's the only person I knew that watched the Oscars, so like it's got to be the
and Big
Oscars."
Yanks.
So I look at the text from Katie. I then go to Twitter, and all I see is Will Smith, Chris Rock, Will Smith, Chris Rock, and I was like, "Holy crap, we got to find the clip of this. Something's happening." And I find that uncensored clip
Yeah.
Mhm.
of the bad joke. It's not a funny joke. Chris Rock's joke about what Jada. It's a bad joke. It's punching down, and it's just about a movie that's 25 years effing old. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not a good joke. But maybe he's performing at the AMC 16 later. Then Will Smith walks up to stage, and you're like, "What is happening?" And then you just see the kablism blam boom.
Hate that.
And then he walks away and goes, "You keep my
Kablism.
wife's name out of your motherfucking
Fucking
mouth." And I'm like, with Katie say, like, what just happened?
Yeah, well, so the actual broadcast feed, they cut the audio for a while, and that's how you knew it was real, because for a good solid, because you could see Chris Rock just say, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me. And
he should have made an Ali 2 joke. If he's gonna make a joke about G.I. Jane 2, you might as well at that moment be like, I just starred in
bring it up 10 years. Yeah.
Why not?
Work it back.
Well, Mark wanted him to say "Welcome to Earth" afterwards, but but
That would have been good.
I thought it was kind of commendable for Chris Rock, because he kept going, and that was a very professional move, and like the only move you can do at that point. And and then of course there's all these conspiracy theories that it was planned or whatever. But
I'm only hearing them from Shane. He's like, look, you can see padding on the side of Chris Rock's face. I'm like, no, he's black, you racist.
Oh God.
Oh God. But
I'm kidding, Shane. I'm
great
kidding,
for
Shane.
ratings a year from now. What a great stunt this is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was really uncomfortable though was, Will Smith won the award for Best Actor afterwards, and then he gave this speech about being a vessel of love, and then it got unbelievably uncomfortable, because he could have used that time, and he was crying the whole time. Obviously he was very regretful of things that he did, but in that moment wasn't vocalizing them, which that's got to be a crazy stage to have those moments, and especially in a global setting. My therapist was like, he needs therapy, and I was like, well, yeah, but
who doesn't?
Who doesn't at this point, especially after the pandemic, all the things that everybody's going through.
Meanwhile, Ronald McDonald's like, he needs a Big Mac. Like, of course the therapist is going to say somebody needs therapy.
Can we talk though about maybe the biggest moment that has been overlooked pretty much when this happened?
Sean
was
Penn
the
melted
reaction
down his
shots in
Oscar?
the audience.
Oh, never mind.
And Mel Gibson was shocked by by this. And then I'm looking at it going, oh, Mel Gibson's welcome back to Hollywood. Okay, well, that's good to know.
Right.
So I'm watching
Shout out Mel Gibson.
He's
a seat filler. He's a seat filler.
I will say that Amy Schumer's joke afterwards was the only joke that was made after that kind of cleared the air just a little bit. She had been in a Spider-Man costume, lowered to the stage, and was stuck. And she's like, I was spending that whole time getting out of that Spider-Man costume. Did I miss anything? The air is really weird in here. Something must have happened. And I thought that was the only thing that seemed to touch on it and let it go. Without making it a deal. But yeah, everything changed from that moment on, and it was already kind of, because the Oscars are uncomfortable to begin with, but it got real uncomfortable after that.
Love makes you do crazy things, it's just, I don't think that's a valid excuse for
no. And he has since apologized, and he said that he's incredibly embarrassed by his actions.
What do you do? The Academy is saying that they're investigating this whole thing, and they're looking.
Can we just say that is the most HR response ever?
Yeah,
we're investigating something that happened live in front of the entire world.
The whole world saw. We're going to investigate. We're going to take fingerprints of Chris Rock's face. Do you take back the Oscar? You can't, right?
No.
Do you not give it in the first place? What the hell do you do?
They probably should have at some point. I mean, the shocking thing to me is that no one went over to him and was just like, please just get out of the building, right? Because it's just such a strange move that, regardless of your definition of assault, because there's all these people, the whole thing makes me really sad, honestly. The whole thing makes me so sad, because you have all these people defending it, and they're like, oh, that wasn't a slap, that you calling that assault, and they're the same people that are also being like, well, if it was my wife, I'd go up with a closed fist. And they're also the same people who have some violent trauma in their background, right?
Yeah.
So you just see what's the normal. It makes you, certainly this whole notion of gratitude that, I didn't grow up getting hit with a baseball bat or something. And I'm like, that's not a slap. That's not assault. But just the fact that no one walked over to Will Smith and was like, you got to get out of the room.
Well, Bradley Cooper apparently, and also Denzel Washington came up to him and were trying to calm him down. I'm just curious, because I've heard that Chris Rock has made a statement that it was a bad joke and he shouldn't have gone that far, but I haven't seen him make an official statement. I'm wondering how Chris Rock is doing, and he's said, I'm not pressing charges. We do know that officially. But it was interesting to me that people went to Will and not to Chris,
Yeah.
who just
Right.
I think
it.
it sends a bad message, I think, ultimately,
Yeah.
because I agree with you, Dustin, like being at least taken out of the building to talk about it, cool down from it, and then come back from commercial and say, you know what, we have addressed this, like address it versus just glazing over it. Because I think this really fuels the people that are annoyed with Hollywood and say Hollywood is, you can do whatever you want, because that is a do whatever I want kind of moment, you know, where he just walked up and did his thing. And I'm not comparing the two. But, you know, someone like Kanye would jump on stage when Taylor Swift was doing her thing. And it's like, wait a minute, where's the respect? And again, a lot of kids watch this stuff, you know, with their families. And so kids see this. And his own kid tweets out, that's how we do it or whatever.
Right, which was really concerning.
Who tweeted that? I thought it was Jada. Jaden tweeted that. That's how we do it. And I'm like,
that's how we do it. Yeah.
Really? Because
in our family.
Do that?
Well, and that's the concerning thing too, is that like it's showing a lot of just like the perspectives of like, like crush him. And like, to be fair, that was a terrible joke about someone with a disability that is like very hesitantly approached this in a public way, which is like shocking and amazing that she's doing that. And
she looked great.
And she looked amazing. She looked freaking amazing. And like her look was enough when the joke happened. I was like, yeah, that was not in good taste. And then I was thinking it was going to move on. But then like you just saw Chris Rock stop and then you start seeing Will. And I was like, wait, what? I was so confused. And it was scary. It's scary because like, if that can happen on live television, like what else can? And like in these kind of really tenuous times, that wasn't the place. And like there was a lot that went into that moment that I think hopefully as Hollywood progresses into the near future, that kind of stuff doesn't have a path anymore, and sheds light on these things in a more public manner. But
agreed.
I think I'm going to land somewhere with Dustin. Like this is kind of depressing, and I listen to that speech. It just, you know, there are people jumping to the whole conclusion of like, oh, it's abuser kind of conversation. It's kind of abuser speak to be like, love makes you do crazy things. I didn't mean it, baby. Like that kind of thing. And it's like, nah, I don't know. The dude is everybody here is in a pressure cooker, and nobody's acting to their bests. At their best, you know, their bandwidth is so narrow, and they're under microscopes at all times. And this is kind of, the whole thing's gross. And if the Rock, I think the Rock should host. No one's going to the stage if the Rock does this. This is why John Cena, The Rock, and Batista need to be the only people on stage during the Oscars, and they can say whatever they want. They can say whatever the hell they want, and nobody's going to take it on the stage. You're going to think twice. You're going to be like halfway out your seat, be like, "Did he just disrespect me?" Oh yeah, that's The Rock. I think I'm good. I think I'm going to sit right here.
Sit on down.
And what else are you going to say? Yeah, or have Ted Cruz make Ted Cruz jokes. He's not going to get up and do anything if you disrespect his wife.
He's just going to fly out of the country.
No, I think Ted Cruz would go up and start licking Chris Rock's boots. He would start licking Chris Rock's. He'd vote for him for president.
Whatever.
And Andy Rattinger, who's a dear friend, he's in the Facebook watching this, and he says, or Cynthia Rothrock. Let's have Cynthia.
Well, there you go.
That'd be great. Yes.
Well, if you are a fan of Cynthia Rothrock, you got to subscribe to this thing. It's called $2 late fee. I love these boys. They do a great show. If you love the 80s, if you love music from the 80s, movies from the 80s, just retro culture, this is the show for you. These guys are great. I love them so much. Dustin
And can I
we
say
love
this really
you.
quick? First of all, like Dustin and I are so happy to be a part of your network and be with you guys and be a part of the family. And there's potential down the road for something big involving Cynthia Rothrock and Don the Dragon Wilson in the summer. So stay tuned for that.
I think we should do something. Like when I see the access you'll have to some of our favorite childhood stars, and we're all in LA, we're all here, we're all local. Maybe we can put something together. Maybe we can promote it to San Diego Comic-Con. Maybe we can make something cool together. I like it. Synergy. So Geekscape is. Subscribe to the $2 late fee. You're going to find out a little bit more about that. And, who knows? Maybe here in LA, you might be able to sit in a theater and see a little bit of something that we put together. Do not do stand up ahead of time. That'll be Katie. And
oh my God.
do not come up and slap it. Yeah, I mean that. Listen, I don't want to talk too much about that lady doing stand up here in LA, but here in LA, folks, this is what happened. The AMC 16 in Burbank had a broken projector, and so the people were just sitting in their seats waiting for their movie to start. That didn't start, and this woman got up because her daughter said, "Maybe you should go up and try your stand up on them." And she got up, and while these people were sitting there waiting for a movie that wasn't going to play, she started doing her stand up, and it was really cringy. It wasn't funny, but where I got involved was I said, "Who cares?" Her Twitter, the people are dunking on her on Twitter, and people are like, "Look how terrible she is! Look how much she sucks!" This and that. And I said, "You know what? Fucking respect the hustle, dog. Like, okay, she stinks, but she got up there and did her comedy, and people are allowed to boo. People are allowed to throw their they're not allowed to throw their drinks. It's assault. People are allowed to boo. People are allowed to get up.
They can definitely slap her.
People
learn that doesn't matter.
People are allowed to go get people are allowed to go get a manager and tell her to shut the hell up. People are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. But I gotta respect the fact that this lady was like, "I'm gonna do something effing weird, and I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna risk the booze." And people on Twitter who it didn't affect in a million years started dunking on her, and I was like, "What's wrong with you people? Like, this shit didn't affect you. Like, I want more people to be weird. I want Katie to like do weird crap. I want her to have a show on every corner in Sherman Oaks.
Listen,
I want Zach to do crazy
crap
in Santa Monica.
I'm sure.
I want more weird people doing weird stuff in public that is not harming anybody, and this world would be so much more interesting than it is now. And I write something like that, and suddenly some fool people. I'm getting all sorts of tweets. For 24 hours, I'm getting tweets like somebody was like, "Nobody asked her to do her comedy in front of anybody. You're supporting rape culture." And somebody else was like, "Oh, it was fucked."
Well,
and then
and to be fair,
like,
I think there is a time and a place for the weird, and especially for people who
the time.
I see. I don't. If I went to the movie theater, yes, as I think you've already said, I would get up and walk out because I'm not having that kind of a comedy show. Especially
Dustin,
if I'm
Zach,
sober.
and I went to see this documentary, Moonfall. It did not play. They had this documentary, this Nat Geo special, Moonfall. We went to see it. Yeah. It did not happen. The projector broke. And if Dustin or Zach had gotten up and been like, "Time for my top 5," I would have been like, "Fuck yeah, do your type 5." And if it would have stunk, the heck, it would have been a tight heckly. It would have been a roast. It would have been fun.
Yeah, totally.
Who cares? The movie wasn't going to play. A roast in public? You run that risk. This, it's like, come on. This guy's
what's the deal with movies, guys? I mean, come on.
I think it would have been fun. I don't know. People were being very mean to somebody who just wanted to do her bad comedy, and it's like, come on.
But it's important to note she's also a psychic too, this woman, so she knew how this was going to turn out, right? So did
she say that publicly?
She did. Apparently at the end of the video,
as she's leaving,
get that far.
She gives her material. She's like, "If you want to find me, I'm also a psychic, so I can help you out with that too." So
you know what? I can't say I don't celebrate that either. I celebrate that too. That is weird as hell.
I'm just saying. So she was fine with the whole thing. You know what I mean? She knew people were going to dunk on her on Twitter. She saw it coming. So you're being an advocate for no reason. That's my point.
Oh, okay.
I'm down. We should just all not be on Twitter. And
because you tell me Matt Kelly's not going to do something like that. Matt Kelly would be so good at something like that.
Listen, and
take a little microphone, put it up there.
I thought that about
it does kind of go along with the whole, don't hate, create, but like it's that kind of thing that like. I don't need to further comment on her journey in life, but all
Katie,
the best
next
wishes.
Time we go to the movies, I'm going to sabotage the projector. I'm going to ahead of time. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to invite Katie to the movies. I'm going to crawl up into the crawl space above the theater like John McClane. I'm going to sabotage the projector, and then with the 15 minutes we have while everybody's looking around, being like, "What's the deal? My movie's going to play." I'm going to have Katie go up and do.
What's the deal?
I'm going to have Katie
better in the South.
I'm going to have Katie go do her
Type 30.
She's going to do a nice skit in front of everybody.
Oh, you motherfucker! What the hell? Why would you end with
that word? She loves that word, skit. She's going to do she's going to go up there and she's going to do a skit like she's going to go up there and do like park bench or something and be like, "Anybody want to throw out a word? I'll do a whole skit based on it improvisationally." It'd be so good.
Mean.
And Andy Rattinger, he's got the spirit. He says, let me know so I can be there.
There
Yep,
you
Andy's
go.
going to be there. It's going to be good. And Andy says, please do improv. Yeah, as if I script any of the show. This show is
No one
improv.
wants improv anymore.
One of the weirdest comment I got was, if I saw anybody doing that, I would have thrown a tomato at them, to which I responded, and I would have said, why do you have a tomato in the movie theater? What a weird snack. And then I would have said, yo, I have to celebrate that too, because I'm the proponent of all that is weird. Pass me one of them tomatoes. Let's go. I'd have chomped down on that tomato. It would have dripped over my popcorn. It would have been delicious.
It's a quiet snack. Wouldn't make that much noise, unlike popcorn.
Little juicy though.
Yeah.
Depending
Like,
on.
A little messy.
Heidi, what just happened? I went to the bathroom, came back, and ate into a tomato.
Is it
I gotta say tomato now.
I don't know why.
Was it
Because of the
fried?
cars. Bringing it back to cars.
I think too, there's something about doing a stand-up set in Los Angeles that's especially gross. You know,
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been there.
Thank
I
you,
would
Dustin.
celebrate the
Thank you.
weirdness if it was another city. Like, just don't do it
Yes.
here. Everyone hates that shit. We all know that garbage. It's like somebody just filming when it's in your way. You know,
Oh,
like,
I'm
you don't like
sorry.
that.
I feel like people hate it because that's their hustle too, and they're like, "Shit, I should."
No, it's just there's a time and a place for it, and it's not
Well,
there.
There
And you're
is.
like,
Here's my thing. When
There
it
isn't.
comes-
We're all gonna be
but
dead.
here's
YOLO.
the
Go up
thing.
there and do your shit.
When it comes to comedy, when it comes to sketch, when it comes to stand-up, my whole thing though is that it has to be in respect of the audience, not in respect of yourself. And
Agreed.
for me,
cares?
that's
They're
what
ready to
that
go see the
woman was
moon
doing.
fall.
Agreed.
They
No,
don't
I don't
respect
care.
themselves.
I don't care. Because that woman made it about herself, and that's
Okay,
why
welcome to
I
Los
understand
Angeles.
it. Yeah, no,
Everybody
I know,
who gets
but
off a
that's why-
Greyhound in this
that's
town is
why
about
I'm
themselves.
not about that. Like you have to, when you're doing a comedy show, if you don't make it about the audience, then you're not really doing a comedy show.
Okay, so you should have gone up there and been like, "Let's craft a skit together. Let
Yeah.
me teach you
No,
my ways."
get
You
out.
should have.
Let's end the fucking
Katie,
show.
that
Stop
woman
saying the
needed
word.
you, and you probably dunked on her on Twitter, and she needed you to Yoda
Actually
her.
didn't. I
To
stayed
Yoda
away.
her.
You coulda Yoda'd this woman.
To halo her.
You
Quan her.
You could have Yoda'd this woman into being a skit master, and instead you let her die on the vine,
Why do you hate me?
tomato vine. All right,
Tomato vine, as we call
Tomato.
it 5 seconds ago.
Geekscapists. There's no effing way you're still listening, but if you are, there's a very important mission for you to do. And now I'm not talking Halo talk. I'm talking about subscribing to the $2 late fee on the Geekscape network.
A lot of kablizzies there.
Yeah, you got to go
We got some
kablizzle.
kabloozies. We don't mess around with the boring
want you to-
political crap. We just
I want you
we
to
just
go whatever-
kabloozle, kablambles.
Podcast app you got.
Kadoodles.
You got the podcast app. Maybe you're listening to this on a podcast app. There's the White Tiger original title for No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yeah, pulling out the knowledge.
I know my stuff. Geekscape
Nice.
is. I'm the host. I'm the host of Geekscape. I know a little bit about everything,
I know,
but
that's-
very much a little bit, but about everything. I am everything, everywhere, all at once, up in my stupid geek brain. But this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna get your little app. You're gonna go kablizzle on the $2 late fee to subscribe to that. You're then probably going to hit a little share button on the episode you're listening to right now and tell your friends, hey, these guys are morons. You might like it. And you're going to throw us under the bus so your friend can listen to Jonathan horribly host a psychotic podcast with 3 other people. That'll be fun. And maybe leave us a comment. That'd be fun. Be like,
Yeah.
leave
Well
us
said.
a 5-star comment that says kablizzle kablazzle. And that's all we know. And the Facebook user says kabloozos, which may be our sign off, but I think it's more like kablozos. We are the bozos of the kablozos.
Kablozos to you.
I don't even know what I'm
my
saying
good
anymore.
man.
$2 late fee, Geekscape, subscribe, share, and all that. And then this Sunday, I got to tell you,
Oh boy.
this Sunday, we got a brand new show because Matt can't help himself. It's called the Geekscape Book Club.
What?
And we're going to be talking about Frank Miller's Batman Year One comic book
Cool.
series.
Nice.
So
Cool.
subscribe to the Geekscape
Wow.
Book Club. I think that'll be live. I'm not sure. And I'm the guest, so I better figure that one out.
Nice.
But that's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
We're going to start a show called the Geekscape Book Club, looking at all sorts of comics and books and stuff you should be reading. All right, friends?
Education. I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks
Kablam.
for having us.
Yeah. But
We out of here. Go kablizzy that nizzy. Bye.